What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Pigskin Pete. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Coming back at you with another weekly top 10 rankings for college football 2020. If you want to help your boy out, go check out howardsrock.net. There's a link in the description to this video and every other video of mine. Go on there, peruse the site, take 5 seconds, hit that register button, become a registered member. It's completely free. All you need to put in there is a display name and an email address, and you'll get a 20% off coupon to the NCAA apparel store. All right, so let's get into the top 10. Here we go. All right, guys, if you're new here, make sure you hit the thumbs up and hit subscribe. I do these college football videos and live streams year-round. There is no off-season for Pigskin Pete in this channel. All right, so you'll notice some things in my top 10 today that have been different from the previous weeks. That is, I finally have some one-loss teams. So if you've been watching the past couple of weeks, you know how I'm doing things here. I'm still not including the conferences that are not playing. Big 10, Pac-12, sorry, you'll make it into my list very, very soon. You guys start in a couple of weeks, and you'll certainly a couple of you will catapult right up this top 10 list. But as of right now, I've got mostly undefeated teams and a few one-loss teams. We had some upsets this past weekend that changed things drastically. We also had a pair of teams play each other, Clemson and Miami, and of course Tennessee and Georgia. So that changed the top 10 list for me quite a bit. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's see who's at number 10. Miami. Last week I think I had Miami at 6. They lost to the best team in the country, or many people think is the best team in the country. I went through a lot of these one-loss teams, and I'm just trying to say who looked, who's got the best wins, the biggest wins by the biggest margin, who lost to the best teams if they do have a loss. And so Miami dominated everybody they played this year until they ran into a buzzsaw named Clemson. And obviously Clemson is the number one team in the country. In my rankings, spoiler alert, and in the AP poll, spoiler alert, and really at this point, most people's rankings are polls. So they have the quote-unquote, and I don't like this term, really, best loss in the country so far, even though they did get manhandled. It was pretty ugly if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan. Anyway, coming in at number 10, I have the Miami Hurricanes. Coming in at number 9, Florida Gators. So up until last week, many people thought that Florida was the best contender to beat or compete with Alabama. Of course, Georgia's right there too. They go out and lose this weekend to Texas A&M in a head scratcher. Of course, Texas A&M got taken to the woodshed the week before by Alabama, and the week before that they had a struggle win against Vanderbilt. So anyway, Texas A&M sitting there at 2-1, but hasn't really looked impressive. Well, they finally put a game together and went out there and beat the Florida Gators, who many people had in their top 3, even some top 4. Some even had them as high as number 2 in the country in their rankings. So impressive win for Texas A&M. Disappointing loss for Florida. Florida season's far from over. They still have everything in front of them. I mean, they still have to play Georgia. They're still competing for the SEC East. They're still competing for the SEC as long as they can win the East. So we'll see how that plays out here very, very soon. They're going to play Georgia here in a few weeks. So anyway, coming in at number 9, the Florida Gators. Number 8, the team that beat the Florida Gators. Now, if you ask Pigskin Pete, if you say, hey, Pete, who looks better this year, Florida or Texas A&M? They both have the same record. I'm going to tell you Florida looks better. But if they have the same record and they just played last week against each other, I'm going with the team that beat the other team to edge them out in the rankings. That's the way I do things. Some people do things differently than the way I do it. That's fine. But head-to-head matchups matter to me if all things else are equal. Texas A&M coming in at number 8. Number 7. So you'll notice number 8, 9, and 10. Those are my one-loss teams that creeped into the top 10 so far. The 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 will all be undefeated teams as to this point. Cincinnati, I don't think, where did I have Cincinnati last week? I can't even remember. I think I had them at 7 last week. A group of 5 team, undefeated, look clearly like the best group of 5 team in the country. They may even be better than quite a few of these top 15 or 20 Power 5 teams. So they're a legit top 10 team right now. Right now they are. We'll see if they can let things continue there. Luke Fickell is doing an amazing job up there in Cincinnati. He will not be there much longer. If I'm the South Carolina, on a side note here, getting off topic here, if I'm the South Carolina Gamecocks, I'm backing the Brinks truck up. Well, first of all, I'm backing the Brinks truck up to fire and do Will Muschamp's buyout. But I'm backing the Brinks truck up and getting Luke Fickell in Columbia. Why not? What do you got to lose? Nothing. Cincinnati, number 7. Number 6, North Carolina. This game that North Carolina had last week, it ended up only like an 11-point game or something. The game, listen, North Carolina, they controlled the game. They controlled the game. They're undefeated. I think Howell is starting to play better. He has a little bit of sophomore slump going these first couple of games. They've had a sort of a weird schedule this year with a couple of weeks off because of coronavirus, and they had a bye week, and then so they haven't really had a consistent schedule. Things have been kind of weird there. I'm not even. I mean, a lot of people are saying North Carolina is overrated. They're definitely not a top 5 or 6 team in the country because I think they're ranked number 5 in the AP poll. Well, they're ranked number 6 in mine. The problem is, who are you going to rank ahead of them? That's not. I mean, are you going to rank any of these teams ahead of them with losses? No, you can't do that. Or at least I don't think you can. So until North Carolina loses, they're going to stay in my top 10. I mean, that's just the way it goes. We'll see what they do this week. Number 5, making a first appearance in my top 10 and catapulted way up there too. Oklahoma State. Shout out to Oklahoma State. Undefeated. Yeah, they rode the struggle bus against a bad team week 1, so everyone just wrote them off. I mean, I don't know, man. To me, they look like the clear-cut best team in the Big 12. They haven't lost a game. They've been sort of a beneficiary of other teams in the Big 12 folding like a lawn chair. I mean, Texas losing to Oklahoma hurt the Big 12 because now Oklahoma and Texas both have 2 losses. So Oklahoma State's sitting there 2 games ahead of both of those teams. The 2 preemptive favorites to win the conference every year are Oklahoma and Texas. And you got Oklahoma State sitting there with a 2-game lead on them with a 0 in the loss column. How about those Cowboys? as what's his face would say. How about them Cowboys? Number 4, Notre Dame went out there and just completely waxed a bad Florida State team. Everybody waxes Florida State, so nothing new. But they did what great teams do, and they handled their business without a problem. Was it 42-17, something like that? Big game coming up here in about a month or so, about 3 weeks or so. Notre Dame and Clemson in South Bend. Man, that's going to be a good one. Notre Dame looks like a great team, man. I'm just telling you. I know you can throw the who have they played card around, and they ain't played nobody, and they're taking advantage of a bad whatever your excuse is this year for why Notre Dame looks good. They look good. I don't know what to tell you. You can watch them play a game and say, that's a good team right there. They're executing at all 3 phases. Ian Book is up and down a little bit this year. That's if I had one criticism of Notre Dame the way they look this year, is that Ian Book has been a little bit inconsistent, especially with the hype coming into the season about how good he should and could be. But I still think he's playing good. I mean, he's still playing. He's not playing bad. He's just not consistent enough. Maybe he can clean that up as the season goes on. But Notre Dame, to me, looks like clearly like one of the top 4 teams in the country so far. Clearly. Number 3, the Bulldogs of Georgia. Man, after that first half of the Arkansas game, their week 1, the SEC's week 1, everyone was writing Georgia off. Oh, with that offense, they won't be able to even win the East. They won't be able to even beat Tennessee or Kentucky. They probably won't beat South Carolina. Definitely not going to beat Florida. Shout out to Stetson Bennett. Shout out to Stetson Bennett. Is this guy putting on a show for a walk-on? Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying this guy's Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, even Derek King. But what he's doing is pretty impressive there. Now he is not the reason that Georgia looks so great. It's clear to me that Georgia and Clemson have the two best defenses so far in the country. The two most suffocating defenses in the country. Georgia and Clemson right now. With that, we might end up seeing, Georgia's got a huge game this week. So we've got a top 3 matchup. We've got Alabama and Georgia playing this weekend in Tuscaloosa. That'll tell us everything we need to know about both of those teams. Those are 2 playoff caliber teams. And here we are in October. I'm looking forward to this game probably more than anything as a Clemson fan because, I want to see both of those teams against great competition. Now, I want to see what Alabama can do against a Georgia defense that's comparable to a Clemson defense. You can argue which one's better all you want. I'd say Georgia's is probably better, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Comparable. And I want to see what Georgia can do against a good offense like Alabama has, because Clemson has a good offense. So it goes both ways. I'm planning on, as a Clemson guy, I'm planning on seeing one of these 2 teams in the playoffs. If Clemson if they can handle their part of the business through the regular season and win the ACC championship, we all know we think they're going to go to the playoffs as long as they don't slip up. But provided that does happen, I believe Clemson is going to be facing off either against Georgia or Alabama at some point in the postseason. So I'll have my eye all over this game. Plus, I just love to see 2 great teams play each other. Georgia, number 3. Number 2, Alabama. Seems like every week I'm flip-flopping Alabama and Clemson back and forth. Let's go ahead and put Clemson up there too. Last week I had Alabama 1, Clemson 2, because Clemson's defense struggled a little bit against Virginia, and Alabama blew their game open. Well, this past weekend, Clemson beat a top 10 team and just blew the doors off of Miami, and that wasn't even a contest. Trevor Lawrence looks like the best player in the country. Travis Etienne looks like the best running back in the country. And the defense showed up in a way that showed that they're at least right there with Georgia as far as having the best defense in the country. They've got the best defensive coordinator in the country, and that's not even up for debate. Does anybody want to debate that with me? Leave your debate in the comments section. My customer service department will get right back to you on that. Look, you could flip-flop any of these top 3 teams any way you want. I've been saying you could flip-flop Alabama and Clemson back and forth. Add Georgia to that mix too. I think Alabama and Clemson are more complete. Certainly think Clemson is, offensively and defensively, than Georgia is. Georgia's clearly dominant on defense, but their offense is not anything close to Clemson's. Even a Georgia fan will tell you that. So, anyway, top 3 teams here. Flip-flop them any way you want. These are the best 3 teams in the country. I don't care where you put them. Don't care where you put them. Alabama showed a little bit of a concern. I don't know. If I'm an Alabama fan, I don't know exactly how concerned I am about giving up 40-something points to Ole Miss. I think that Lane Kiffin's going to do that to a lot of people. I don't know if he would do that to Georgia. I don't know if they would do that to Clemson, but I bet you they'd score more on Clemson and Georgia than any other team would. Lane Kiffin's he's going to find a way to get points on the board. They just don't have any defense over there in Ole Miss. So anyway, Flip-flop these any way you want. Recap. Miami 10, Florida 9, Texas A&M 8, Cincinnati 7, 6, North Carolina, 5, Oklahoma State, 4, Notre Dame, 3, Georgia, 2, Alabama, and number 1, the Clemson Tigers. All right, guys. I'll see you next time. Pigskin Pete, checking out. Leave a comment.